We move over here to our Mariners, who are continuing their 10-game homestand to end the month of May. Began with it did. It did begin with a 4-game stretch against the Oakland Athletics, the franchise and the team that continue to struggle for unfortunate reasons. May 22nd versus the Athletics was an 11-2 win. Our player of the game, left fielder Jared Kelenic, 3 hits, 2 runs, 3 RBIs, and a 2-run homer as Luis Castillo recorded his 1,000th career strikeout in that game. We did not have one for that game. That was a big one. I mean, Kelenic had a big game, as you can see, with being named player of the game. But Julio Rodriguez also got going pretty well in that one. Reached base all 5 times that he went to the plate. Recorded 3 hits on the day. So nice to see Julio have that sort of start to the homestand after he had been relatively struggling to begin the year. Same with Jared continuing to push forward, and Seattle gets a nice blowout win to start the homestand. May 23rd in Game 2 versus the Athletics, a 3-2 win, a nice and tight one. The player of the game, shortstop J.P. Crawford. J.P. 1 hit, 1 run, 2 RBIs, 1 walk, and a 2-run homer to tie that game up. And then Ty France, just a batter after, and you can see our picture of the game here from Liv Lyons, had a solo shot to give the Mariners a lead that they would never look back from. May 24th in Game 3 versus the Athletics, a 6-1 win. Our player of the game, right-handed pitcher Bryce Miller. Miller continues his historic start to his young career. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, no runs allowed, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. In that game on the 23rd, France had been hit on the hand by a pitch and caused some major swelling. It didn't hit his wrist, which has caused him problems before. So he just took the day off. And as you can see here in our picture of the game by Brian Saldana, Sam Haggerty was playing at first. I just can only imagine what positions Haggerty will not have played by the time that his career has ended. Haggerty got up here, got some elevation. I don't know if he felt like a bird and he wanted to fly away, but he really went up to get this one. Was able to make the tag on Athletics first baseman Ryan Noda. To close out the series against the Athletics on May 25th, the Mariners would win that one 3-2, same as Game 2. Our player of the game, first baseman Ty France. The Frenchman, 2 hits, 3 runs, and 2 RBIs, a multi-homer game in his first game back from injury. Only the second multi-homer game of his career, that other one coming in 2019 when he was a member of the Padres against the San Francisco Giants. So any sort of quarrel or upsetness that France was not getting any more rest there, or the thoughts of him having a slump or something were quickly quieted down. Any exaggerations about his condition were just that, exaggerated. And the Mariners would complete the sweep. They'd get the brooms out and dust aside the Athletics to set up a 3-game battle with the Pittsburgh Pirates for the first time in a series since 2019. The first time since 2016 that they've played the Pirates at home. May 26th versus the Pirates in Game 1, a 6-11 loss. This was a tough one. The Mariners gave up 7 home runs in total, 4 off of George Kirby. Just a tough outing for George, who has had a really strong start to his season, who looked like all-star caliber material. And then he gets thumped by the Pirates. The Mariners didn't have the worst game offensively. 6 runs should help you win most any game, really. Play the game, center fielder Julio Rodriguez. Julio, 2 hits, 1 run, and 3 RBIs as the Mariners wore their City Connect jerseys for the second time ever. In our photo here by Brian Saldana. As I mentioned, Julio, 2 hits, 1 run, 3 RBIs, and a solo homer. His solo homer in the bottom of the first tied the game at 1 run each, as Pittsburgh's Andrew McCutchen hit a solo homer to lead off the game off of Kirby, and then it was just sort of all down here. Not really, it wasn't all downhill, as the Mariners actually took a lead the next inning and kept that lead until about the 5th, when the Pirates jumped all over Kirby to end his outing poorly. May 27th versus the Pirates, the Mariners bounced back with a 5-0 win. They shut out Pittsburgh. Our play of the game, right-handed pitcher Luis Castillo La Piedra, 6 innings pitched, 1 hit allowed, only a double in the first inning. Nothing after that. Obviously, no runs allowed, 2 walks on the day compared to 10 strikeouts. So the Mariners get a big bounce-back win. They shut out the Pirates, who have been able to swing the bat pretty well to begin the season, setting up the rubber match on Sunday, May 28th. As you can see there on your screen, that was a 6-3 win in extra innings. Our player of the game, third baseman Eugenio Suarez. Gino, 1 hit, 1 run, 3 RBIs, and a walk. It would be a walk-off homer in the bottom of the 10th inning a 3-run shot that went into the Pittsburgh bullpen. It's the third walk-off of his career, third walk-off homer. My apologies. All of them have come as a Mariner, and it's the first Mariners walk-off homer since Cal Raleigh's clinch last season against the Athletics. We've got 2 photos of the game here. You can see Eugenio Suarez getting doused by water in the dugout after his walk-off by Ty France. And then the local guy, the local reliever from Maple Valley, spent some time at Tacoma Community College, Taylor Saucedo. Saucedo came up with a huge strikeout of young Pirate star Brian Hayes with the bases loaded in the top of the 10th. They get the Mariners to the bottom of the 10th, send them into the walk-off, but a huge, huge moment for Saucedo. As I mentioned, a local guy to get that strikeout, and you can see the emotion here from him captured by Liv. Our player of the week, before we get into general discussion on that past homestand so far, as the Mariners still have 3 games to go, Julio Rodriguez. Julio, again, there was rumors of a sophomore slump. There was a really horrible article about him getting potentially traded, which, just, I don't know why we look at some of these things. But, he's getting pitched differently than he was in his rookie year. That's going to happen year to year. People are going to adjust. He's got to adjust, and he seems to be adjusting in this homestand. And this could be a really big jettison point for him moving forward throughout the course of the season. Over Julio's last 7 games, he's got 14 hits, 6 runs, 7 RBIs, 2 homers, 1 stolen base, a .467 batting average, a .484 on base percentage, and an .800 even slugging percentage, which all of those numbers are really good, and he'll need to continue that as the Mariners welcome the Bronx Bombers to town starting tonight at 6:40 p.m. Pacific. I mean, to go 6-1 over your past 7 games to begin the homestand is pretty solid. And hard to argue against. I mean, you needed to sweep the Oakland Athletics. That was a minimum. They've only won 10 games. I think they're 10-42 right now. I could be wrong. They could be even worse. But you handled business there. Winning those 2 close games, 3-2 in each instance, was a little bit odd. I guess every dog has his day. But then the Pirates, they've had a pretty strong start to their season. They are second in their division currently, at least last time I checked, and they were only a half game out of first place the other day. So it's not like the Pirates are a bad team. They've relatively struggled as of late, but they've still got a good amount of talent, some veteran talent. Brian Reynolds is still excellent. G1 Bay made an incredible catch in center field yesterday to keep a J.P. Crawford, probably a triple, off the board in the 10th inning. In the 9th inning, I apologize. So Pittsburgh's a good ball team, but what's important, and I've said it in our recaps, so make sure that you're looking at those for the games here, and we'll get this rolling on the screen, is that, this obviously winning the games is important. The winning, that's step number 1. But the individual performances that you're seeing from the lineup, J.P. Crawford and Jaron Kelenic have been this offense for most of the year to begin the year. Ty France and Julio Rodriguez have relatively struggled. Those 2 have been performing well this homestand and have been getting into a groove and clicking, and that's so key. Cal Raleigh has been clicking, even though he'd been dealing with a relatively minor injury, sort of say, earlier in the homestand. You've got this pitching staff, and we know how good this pitching staff has been, whether that be the rotation or the bullpen. And I mentioned Saucedo. Saucedo's been excellent, and they just used him in one of the higher leverage situations he's gotten. Easily the highest high leverage situation that he's gotten as a member of the Mariners. Trevor Godd's performed well. Gabe Spires coming in performed well. This team is still right now without Andres Munoz and Penn Murphy, which is incredible to say, and they might get Casey Sadler around the All-Star break. So, things are starting to click. And that's why if you look back into earlier May or April, I caution you, because it's the early part of the season. There are always collapses. There are teams that adjust after having a slow start. The Phillies were horrible to begin last year, and they made the World Series. So it's a game. There's 162 games in an MLB regular season. I caution you to throw the team into the fire in the first 3 months. Things are going to be fine. And I talked about it in previous weeks and last year, obviously, but this Mariners team has often become too reliant on the long ball. That hasn't been the case in these games that they've been winning in this homestand. They've been actually racking up singles and base hits, and they had a game against the Pirates where they had like 7 doubles. Ty France leads the team in doubles with 15. Jared Kelnick's right behind him with 14. That could be outdated. They might have more, but they're getting on base with walks. Eugenio Suarez, and I believe one of the games, one of the 3-2 games against the Athletics, the inning started out hot for Gino. Gino had gone down to the clubhouse to take care of some business. Julio Rodriguez hit the first pitch, so that's quick. Jared Kelnick was intentionally walked, so that's quick. And so it forced Gino to go up to the plate, not having discussed really what Garrett Action, the reliever for the Athletics, was going to throw at him. And he was still able to draw a walk with the bases loaded and give the Mariners a one-run lead that they would eventually need to win that game. So, again, that patience and that plate presence and the Mariners for years have talked about this mantra of controlling the zone, whether that be on the offensive end of things where, you control the strike zone, you're able to dominate the strike zone, you're able to take good pitches, or on the pitching end of things and the defensive end of things where you're able to throw strikes, and that's something they talked about Taylor Saucedo about, that he mentioned in the postgame presser yesterday. He talked about how when he was brought in here, they said you get a little bit out of the zone sometimes, but when you're in it, you're really good. And he mentioned that this might be a small note for some, but it was a really inspiring message of confidence for him. So, this is sustainable baseball that they're playing right now, and they're improving. They're stacking wins. They're stacking momentum, whether that be as a team or individually. There's still some guys who could perform a little bit better. That's obvious case, but this is a very encouraging homestand. Obviously, you've got 3 games against the Yankees. The Yankees, one of the most recognizable brands in all of sports. So it's always nice to beat New York, especially after last year where they had that 13-inning thriller. That series in Seattle around is pretty good, and even the one in New York. And it's a good test. It's a good test. The Yankees are only 3rd in their division right now, but that's considering that the Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays have had incredible beginnings to their seasons so far. So, it's going to be a big bout. The Yankees are 9 games above 500 at this moment. Domingo Germán, after being suspended, is getting his first start tonight against young Bryce Miller. So it's a good test. It's a good test early in the season. If you can finish off this homestand with a series win, let alone, I'm not going to even say that. If they can finish it off positively, even bigger. And then after this series against the Yankees, you go down to Texas in that ugly warehouse dome of a stadium that they call home against the Rangers, and you play a team that leads the division right now, which is another test. So building these wins, I feel like, is important instead of if you went into those with a middling attitude. And, so it's encouraging. It's encouraging to see right now with the Mariners, and that's what I'm happy about. That's what to move forward with, and they can continue that tonight. How likely that is, the Yankees are a good team, so I'm not going to guarantee anything. We move over here to injury-related news. On the 22nd, General Manager Justin Hollander provided some injury updates on a few key players, including Andres Munoz, who you see on your screen there. Right-handed pitcher Easton McGee is likely in need of Tommy John surgery, which will put him out for 12 to 14 months. Quote from Justin Hollander, it's likely going to result in Tommy John surgery for him. What they're seeing is that the instability in his UCL is causing the flexor to not heal properly. So no matter how much you do under rehab for the flexors, that UCL ligament seems to be causing a problem. They don't know for sure, but he's likely headed for Tommy John. That's unfortunate, just to end McGee's season relatively in the next 12 to 14 months, as I mentioned. McGee came in the Blue Jays series and threw an excellent game, only allowed 1 hit, and the 1 hit he allowed was like the last batter he faced. So, pretty solid from McGee there. Just unfortunate that it ends that way for him this season. Infielder/outfielder Dylan Moore may join the team this homestand. There are 3 games left in the homestand. We'll have to see about that. He's been with the Rainiers as of late. So that'll be interesting to note. The quote from Hollander, he's here today. This was on the 22nd again. He's going to transition his rehab to Tacoma tomorrow when they pick up. Hopefully sometime on this homestand, he'll be back and ready to go. Hollander reminded us that Moore did not have a spring training, so he's relatively coming into these things somewhat. He's still building up strength and getting back into the groove of baseball. He hasn't had the same sort of offseason that his teammates have had. He had no buildup from the winter for roughly to go. So it'll be interesting to see how when they get more back into the swing of things. We'll look at some of his stats here. This is not helpful. Uh, with Dylan. Well, in his 2023 MI minor league stats, he's had 24 at bats, 7 hits, 4 runs, 4 RBIs, 2 stolen bases for a batting average of 292, which isn't bad, and you can't completely base minor leagues, especially with a guy like Moore who's on a rehab assignment, on the numbers. The Mariners probably just want to see the right things from him moving forward. But again, 3 games left in the homestand. It would probably require a roster move, so I'm not sure if Moore will be somebody that we do see by the end of the homestand. He might be a road trip addition for Seattle. We look over here as we continue the injury-related updates. Andres Munoz and Penn Murphy are getting back to throwing soon, as you can see on the photo there with Andres, and that photo from Liv from spring training. The quote from Hollander on Munoz and Murphy said, Munoz, I think the update was he had gotten the PRP shot. He feels great coming off of that. He's progressing towards what we hope is activation sometime on the next road trip. This is as optimistic as he has felt as he's ramped up the run and as good as he's felt each time through. Hopefully, we're progressing towards an activation sometime on the road trip. I believe he's throwing a touch and feel bullpen today, which again was on the 22nd, and that will lead into progressively more significant throwing off the mound and facing hitters, and then rehab assignment. Penn Murphy's kind of in the same spot. He had a PRP last week. He's on the same timeline as Mooney. Obviously, it's been less downtime for Penn. Once he gets on the mound, it will be faster. The buildup for Penn, again, hope is to activate him sometime on the upcoming road trip. So Seattle would get 2 of their best relievers back on this road trip, as they continue to stack momentum, as I've mentioned. So this could be a really big deal for Seattle. Again, you've got the Yankees coming up for these next 3 games, and you've got the Rangers after that, who currently lead your division. So getting these sort of reinforcements for the team would be big. There's no clear timeline for that, as Hollander said, but something to keep note of as we continue forward, that those sort of reinforcements can come. I mentioned Casey Sadler. Sadler has a timeline for his return finally. After having a great 2021, the reliever may be able to join the team again around the All-Star break. Hollander said, he's been cleared to begin a throwing program. We're cautiously optimistic, given the progress he's made with the PT up here, that if all goes well, we're thinking roughly very early on this all-star break type of readiness for him right now. He has made a lot of progress since we shot him back down. He's feeling better, and we're hopeful that he will do that and be able to avoid a second surgical procedure. So some hope there for Casey Sadler, who had incredible numbers for the Mariners in 2021 and was a big part of that bullpen. But not so good news on Evan White, the former Gold Glover at first base for the Mariners. He suffered another big injury setback. Hollander says that Evan White has recently had surgery and will be out for months at minimum and not weeks. Evan, on the 22nd, had surgery today in New York with Dr. Kelly. The surgery and this is, I guess, Hollander read the direct quote from the doctor. The surgery released the tendon that was impinging his joint and also cleaned up significant scar tissue and in and around the hip area. We anticipate him coming to Arizona at the end of next week. Then we'll need to see how he responds to the rehab in order to map out a timeline for his return. It will be obviously a lengthy rehab process. I don't think he's 4 weeks away from rehab. I'd say 3 months minimum for him to be back out on the baseball field in some sort of rehab type activity / baseball activity. They do feel like the surgery helped by releasing detected and cleaning out what they deem significant scar tissue around the hip. So just unfortunate. If you've been following the Mariners at all the last few years, Evan White has displayed great power at the plate. Obviously won the Gold Glove in 2020 with the Mariners, just hasn't been able to stay healthy since that sort of thing. Ty France came in and take that job, and he's got that job. He's not going anywhere. I remember before this season started in spring training, people were saying that Evan White would come in and take that first base job again, and that Ty would move to second or something, which I just don't think was going to happen. And, now you've got this injury with White. So that's just unfortunate. I don't know. I don't know if we'll see Evan White wear a Mariners uniform once again. I really don't. As I mentioned, on the 23rd, France was hit on the hand with a pitch. Again, it was on the hand. It was not the wrist. It was the fatty part of his hand right here and not the wrist. can see the wrist right there. It was more on this fatty part, and it swelled up, and he has a brace on it. Going forward, he goes, if they make the padding, why not wear it? Um, but he avoided an injury-less stint, and he only missed the one game. On May 24th, it was an interesting one, that athletic series, because several of the Mariners batters were hit. Two players left that game on the 24th due to injury-related reasons. Third baseman Eugenio Suarez left the game to get ice on his right foot / ankle after being hit with a foul ball on the on-deck circle. So that one was a little odd. I believe they were playing cautious on that one, especially considering if we go back to the score of the game on the 24th, they won 6-1. Yeah, so there's no reason to keep him in. And then AJ Pollock left the game with tightness / an issue in his leg on a stolen base. So that was interesting. To wrap up with team news here for our Mariners, Julio Rodriguez is now sponsored by Alaska Airlines, the center fielder. For every homer that he hits, 44 fans will receive a free Alaska Airlines round-trip flight. So, I mean, considering his recent swing, that doesn't seem like a bad deal whatsoever. So we'll see if that continues. Speaking of continuing, the Mariners will move on with their season here as they welcome the Bronx Bombers to town. They face the Yankees for 3 games. All 3 of them, May 29th, 30th, and 31st, are all 6:40 p.m. Pacific time start times. Yes, even though Wednesday is technically the last game of the homestand, and normally that is a getaway game, this is not the case. They are not playing a day game on Wednesday. It is a night game, and they will finish it out against the Yankees there, hopefully with a series win, but we'll have to see about that. And then if we look over here to the road trip, so after the Wednesday game on Thursday, they will get the day off. And then they'll go down to play the division-leading Texas Rangers, which will be a big deal. Again, division leading. I don't need to say much more. That begins on June 2nd with a 5:05 p.m. First pitch. June 3rd is a 1:05 first pitch. And then June 4th at the Rangers to wrap up that series down in Arlington is an 11:35 a.m. first pitch. So big series there. You've got the Yankees in town. Anytime you play the Yankees, it's a big deal, just whether because they're good or just the hype that comes with the Yankees. Then the division leading Rangers to start that road trip.